Hi everybody, it's Marissa from the Duxbury Free Library with your weekly Crafternoon. This week I'm going to be making Play-Doh, and my theme for these Crafternoons these past couple months have been using items you already have at your house. A lot of Play-Doh recipes call for cream of tartar, which is this little container, but it might not be something you have, so I was able to find a Play-Doh recipe that does not use cream of tartar. And it is a no-cook recipe, although you still need very hot water. So this would definitely be something you would want to grown up for. So I'm going to go through the ingredients I have. I'm also going to post a link to this recipe down in the comments because I did not come up with this recipe. I found it online. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And this also makes a small quantity of Play-Doh. So you can make a whole bunch of different colors, or you could double or triple or quadruple the recipe if you wanted to make a lot of one color. But I'm just going to follow the recipe and make one small batch of green today. So the ingredients you need for this project are a cup of flour, a quarter of a cup of salt. This is just regular table salt. 3/4 of a cup of water, but from this, before you microwave it to get it hot, you're going to take out 3 tablespoons. So this is just 3/4 of a cup at this point, and then I'm going to take the 3 tablespoons out, and 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this lemon juice is going to replace your water that you've removed from the measuring cup. I used this squeezy lemon juice because we had it and I thought it was a quick shortcut. You can also use fresh lemon juice. Either way, it's lemon juice. It's going to work. And a tablespoon of cooking oil. So I have just canola oil. And then the recipe says you can add 2 packets of Kool-Aid to give it a smell, a fragrance, and a color. I'm going to use food coloring instead. And I'm not going to add any scent to it, although if you wanted to add a little bit of vanilla extract or peppermint, you could do that. But I'm just using food coloring, so I've already set aside my green food coloring for this project. So now that I've gone through all the things you're going to need, I am going to get started. First thing I want to do is I have my 3/4 of a cup of water here. I want to remove 3 tablespoons. So I have a little sink right over on the side, and I'm just going to pull out 3 tablespoons real fast. In the meantime, you can look at my beautiful glass bowl right there. All right, so now I have my 3/4 of a cup of water minus 3 tablespoons. And to this, I want to add my 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I've already measured this out. This is a cool little measuring cup. You can measure tablespoons, but you don't have to worry about pouring it into a spoon. I'm just going to add that. And I'm going to throw it in the microwave. So it needs to be just boiling. My recipe says about 3 minutes. So I'm going to go put it in the microwave and get started mixing my dry ingredients. All right, so while my water and lemon juice mixture is microwaving, I am going to check my recipe here and see what my next step is, which is to mix together my flour and my salt. So I have my cup of flour. I'm going to pour that in my bowl. And my 1/4 of a cup of salt. I know the school year is ending, but making something like this, which is a rather low stakes recipe, is awesome for math skills, and it's also artsy and creative. And the dough itself is great for fine motor skills, strengthening hands, for kids to get ready to use scissors if you have kids on the younger side, and it's just a lot of fun. So I am just going to let this, make sure this is all incorporated, and when my water is ready, I'm going to come on back. All right, so I just got my water and lemon juice mixture out of the microwave, and it is very hot. So you want to definitely make sure you're using a heat-proof measuring cup, which I am. And this would definitely be a part for the grown-ups to do if you have little kids. So it smells really good. It smells like lemonade. At this point in the recipe, if you were using Kool-Aid, you would add it very slowly because it gets foamy. And you would want to mix it together. I'm not, like I said, I'm not using Kool-Aid, but I am going to add food coloring. And I discovered it's better if you add food coloring to your water mixture than if you add it to your dry mixture, because it mixes up better, because it kind of dissolves a little bit and dissipates through your liquid ingredients. So I have green food coloring here. This is just food coloring I got at the grocery store. If you have gel food coloring for making cakes, it gives a really, really intense color, and it's awesome for projects like this. It also will stain your hands a little bit though. I don't have that, I'm using what I have, so I'm just going to use this regular liquid food coloring. I'm going to put in like 6 drops. And I'm going to use a little measuring spoon to just make sure that's evenly stirred. So now I'm going to pour my liquid ingredients into my dry ingredients. Just going to make sure this is all pushed down towards the center, my flour and my salt. And now I'm going to slowly pour it in. And I'm going to stir it around with my spoon here. It says to stir it till it just barely forms a dough. Just going to scrape that off. You might want to use a spatula to get the extra off your spoon. So this is sort of coming together clumpily. It's still kind of warm, so I'm gonna keep stirring it with my spoon until it's cool enough that I can start to knead it with my hands. My hands are gonna get sticky and green. Just trying to get the flour on the sides into the center. All right, I think it's cool enough for me to touch now. I wouldn't have a little one touch it because it's still pretty warm, but once it starts to cool down, then everybody can take a turn kneading. I've made Play-Doh at the library before, and I give everybody a chance to stir. By the time I go around and let everybody stir it, it's cool enough for me to handle. So making sure to get all that extra flour that I didn't get in with my spoon. This might be a nice break from baking bread if you've been baking bread while you've been home a lot. So now my recipe says it's going to feel a little sticky, but not to add more flour. Because we want to let it cool off a little. We want to add our oil and then let it cool down a little bit to see if we need flour. Mine's sticky, but it's not overly sticky. And you actually can't smell the lemon, so that's great if you were going to do a scented Play-Doh that it's not already got a lemon base scent. So now I'm going to add my oil. And now the cap of my oil container is all covered in Play-Doh, which is fine. You'll know what you used it for last. Just drizzle it on top. Canola oil is awesome because it doesn't have really any sort of scent, and it's relatively clear. All right. So now this is coming together really nicely. It is a bit oily. So make sure all the oil is incorporated. All right, so this actually comes out pretty oily. The recipe does suggest to let it sit and cool and then start to add flour to it to make it the perfect consistency. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit, and I'll be back in a couple minutes to test it and start adding a little more flour to it. All right, so I've let my Play-Doh cool down for about 5 minutes or so. It's definitely cooler, and some of the oil has absorbed into it. So now, as my recipe says, I am going to start adding flour a little bit at a time to sort of absorb the rest of the oil and give it that nice Play-Doh consistency. So I have my canister of flour, and I have my measuring spoon. Now I obviously cleaned it out from the oil that I had measured in it, so I don't taint all my flour. So a tablespoon at a time. I'm just going to sprinkle a little on. So this recipe, like I said, only makes a little bit of Play-Doh, and they say like once you have made one color and you let it cool down completely on a sheet of parchment paper or aluminum foil, I have parchment here on my counter, you can start another one, and by the time you are like halfway through the second color, the first one will be perfect. So it's great if you want to make a bunch of different colors. You have people who are very particular about colors in your household. Red's my favorite color, but I decided to make green today. Or, I mean, if you are having a socially distant event at your house, you can make different colors for everybody who's visiting you. Or you can make this, put it in a container, let a friend know that you're like leaving it in their mailbox as a surprise, and they can play with it too. So, also Play-Doh is fun for everybody, even as an adult. There's something so relaxing about Play-Doh. I guess that's why a lot of people like to bake bread. The kneading is very relaxing. So this is definitely helping. I've added 2 tablespoons of flour right now. I'm going to add just a little sprinkle more. Like I said before, this is a low stakes recipe to learn about measurement. And it's also food safe. Like these are all food safe ingredients. So I love making slime, but slime has like glue in it, and if you eat it, it's really bad news. So this is just going to taste really salty, but there's nothing in here that's toxic. So look at that. Look how nice and smooth that is, and doughy. So I don't really smell too much lemon, so that's good. Now at this point, if you wanted to add scent without using a flavor extract, because those can, like cream of tartar may not be something you have on hand, and also tend to be a little pricey. You could even put in like the zest of a citrus fruit for this. Sorry for the rattly paper. You could add, if you have some very fine glitter, then it's not food safe, obviously. You could add some really, really fine glitter to this. This is so nice and smooth now, and it's not sticky at all. You can toss it back and forth. It doesn't stick to my parchment paper, and it is a beautiful shade of green. So there you go. There's our Play-Doh, no cook, no cream of tartar. My recipe says to let this hang out on the parchment paper, just to let it completely cool down. There is still a little bit of heat in it. And then you're going to want to store this in an airtight container, probably in the fridge, because eventually it will spoil. It's flour and lemon juice and salt, so it will eventually get moldy. So the longer, the more you keep it in an airtight container, and the more you keep it in the fridge, the longer it will last. But it's a really quick, easy recipe, and once it eventually goes bad, it's super easy to whip up a quick batch. This whole video, I started it about 20 minutes ago, and the parts you didn't see that I cut out were me getting, my liquid out of the microwave and letting this rest for a few minutes. So it's really quick, so much fun to play with. I can't wait to play with this some more. It's very soothing, and it also builds hand strength, like I mentioned before too. So everybody, it's a win-win-win all across the board. So I hope you enjoyed this Crafternoon, this virtual Crafternoon. Like I said, once this video posts, I'll come back and I'll post the link to the recipe I got, since I did not make it up. I want to give proper credit. And if you have any ideas for Crafternoons that you think you'd like to see with materials you probably have at home, I'm open to your suggestions. Some news is coming soon about Crafternoons for the summer, and I'd also love to see what you make. So you can comment on this post on Facebook, or you can post on Instagram and tag us at Duxbury Free Library. Enjoy, have fun, smoosh it flat, and say goodbye. Bye, everybody.